and then they start bringing you in, hoping that if you've adopted the policies and procedures that they've laid out, then we should be able to execute like the phase 2A. If the restaurants get it right on the outside, it'll make it easier for them to adopt and adapt to the protocols that are put in place when we move to the inside. And I fully believe that he is, trying to react to that tension where, the reality is we've got to get our businesses up and running, but we've got to do it safely. And he's taken a pretty decent approach. But that said, they're writing volumes of new regulations, and that process takes time. And there are mistakes that are being made, and I guess that's to be kind of understood. Kasey.
Mm-hmm. Kasey?
I definitely can understand like some people thinking that like things are reopening too soon. Certainly there are people that are at a higher risk that should continue to stay at home, that even though they're saying like phase 2 restaurants are open, like if somebody is immunocompromised or is of that high risk group, they should obviously continue to stay home. That's safest for them. But I do really think that it's important to reopen our economy, our community, our schools. I've got little kids, and my oldest is in kindergarten, and I'm concerned about like her missing out on those important events at school, and that's just kindergarten. So I can't even imagine how like seniors feel like missing out on events that are really like life-changing events for them. I think we can all finally think of like what our high school graduation was like, or what after graduation was like, if there was like an after school party or something, and those kids aren't going to have those events. And so I really feel like they're missing key things in their life. And as far as like businesses go, like they need to be able to reopen. People need to work, people need to make money, kids need to be able to socialize. Like that's normal. But we need to be able to do it safely, which if people can be responsible and wear the masks without having to be told, and wash their hands before and after they do an activity, and are just really careful about the types of things that they're doing and who they're doing it with, then you can continue to open things up, and you won't see this huge jump in cases. If people aren't responsible and they don't follow those key guidelines, then we're going to have an issue where we have this huge number of cases. But I do think that all the businesses in town that have been asking us a ton of questions, like, are all trying so hard to get it right.
Yeah.
And I think like me and Shaun know that we can get it right because we've protected police and fire when it was the worst it could be. So right now, where we have 6 active cases in town, instead of 100 cases that are active, 100 people you get COVID from, we should be able to open up and be safe. We know how to do that. We know how to keep people safe. We know the right things to do, and we just have to do them slowly so that they're perfect the first time.
Right. So I'm wondering, the state guidelines are 6 feet with masks. And I know this is really kind of the realm of your opinion and your feelings based upon the information that you have reviewed. Do you think 6 feet is a good number? I know that my family is kind of conservative. So what we're saying is when we are having a socially distant, guest or something like that, we're doing 10 feet outside with a mask, or 20 feet without, if we each get takeout and we're like, kind of having a meal like that. So I had heard stuff about this 6 feet may have been based on technology that was decades old, and they didn't know about the size of the droplets. So I'm just kind of curious in your life as you're going out and doing things, not specifically making guidelines or making rules, but like what are you comfortable with, and what are you trying to do as you are opening up your lives again?
Well, I mean, we have it's interesting because we have an industry in town that has a European headquarters. So they were initially operating on a 3-foot distance with masks. And then they've since adopted this 6-foot. And, as if you study, the physics, air turbulence, the spread, just the it's just all of the science and the physics behind the dispersal of the droplets. As you get further, there's less of a risk that you're going to get a dose of virus that is sufficient to cause you illness. So I personally, I work with that 6-foot realm. I had a contractor come in to my home, and we were both in masks. We were 6 feet apart. My kids and my wife were in another room. And then, when we went outside, we were about 10 feet apart, and we took off our masks, but there was a good breeze going. When I do trail walking, we have masks with us as, per the policy in the town. But, the reality is when I'm outdoors and there's a wind blowing, we just step aside, 3 to 4 feet, and then let the other trail walkers go by us. And I'm not overly conscious, and I'm fearful that that momentary contact is going to lead to illness. So I believe the 6-foot is justified. And again, that's why we have a mask, is because the mask adds that extra barrier of protection. But again, this is really, as Kasey had alluded to, this is an exercise in responsibility and risk management. If we're all, following the 6-foot guidance, we're wearing masks between 0 and 6 feet, we should have an adequate level of protection. If we want to expand that further, out of personal concern, then that's just going to be an improved or a lessened risk. So it's really a personal decision. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we're all kind of following the protocol to ensure that we're creating that community protection. Because as we start falling apart, we're just we're introducing unnecessary risk into the community.
So I was just wondering, you said a few minutes ago that you believe Hopkinton has done a really good job, and from what you said and from your most recent Board of Health report, we only have a handful of active cases in town. Is there anything that you feel that we could be doing more of, or that we could be doing an even better job with?
Kasey, you want to go with this one? Because this is what we're introducing.
Yeah, so I'm hoping we're referencing the same thing.
Yeah,
but,
I think so.
Obviously they talk about like how do you get a hold of coronavirus? How do we go forward from this? I mean, obviously me and Shaun are not cooking up a vaccine in the fire department first, so we can't do that. But a way to do that is increased testing. So increased testing availability in town, and then also make sure that people are starting to use like antibody testing. One of the things they started reporting last week in the weekly report is some probable data. And so most of those probable numbers, not all, are antibody test results. And so we don't know much about antibodies, but we know that you either have them or you don't, and that typically coronavirus antibodies provide some type of immunity for about a year. So, utilizing those probable numbers, we can kind of figure out like where do we stand as a community, how many people have some type of immunity, and so we can get closer to that herd immunity percentage that, allows you to have even more freedom. I don't think that there's much that we're missing. I think that we got through the worst of it by inputting best practices, and you can see that in the guidelines for everything. Like it says, like the best practice is do this, but like if it's too much, you don't have to, but like as long as we move forward with best practice, I think that we'll be fine. And I think that we are the model, we have the model guide, I think we're doing really well.
And then we could discuss testing.
Oh yeah. So yeah. As long as I'm allowed to.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed.
No. I mean, it's going to happen. It's just we're just awaiting confirmation on the day.
What we did, and hopefully we will have official approval on, is partner with an urgent care. It's AFC Urgent Care in Marlboro. And we will be bringing testing, both antibody and PCR testing, so the nasal swab, to the town of Hopkinton. There will be a drive-through clinic. The process should be pretty streamlined. What the person would do would be to fill out the registration form, submit that to an email, and then they'll be contacted by a provider at the urgent care. They'll do an assessment, schedule them the test, and on the day of the drive-through test, they will come present their letter at their specific appointment time and have their test completed and be able to go home in 5 minutes.
Wow, that's really something.
Yeah, and there was plenty of people in March, when this first was a thing, that definitely I thought that they could have been tested for COVID at that time, but we were not able to get them a test. So I definitely think there's an opportunity to capture some more people that could potentially have antibodies but weren't able to get a test done. And this just allows people to come get a test, not have to get out of their car, not go to a doctor's office, have a medical professional, do a whole assessment, and order the testing. And it brings it close to home for people that don't want to drive far away, or or are scared of driving, or scared to go to a doctor's office and go inside, like they're scared of what might be in the doctor's office. This way you're just staying in the car. The antibody testing would be outside in a tent, but again, like it's outside, it provides for greater ventilation. It's much safer than going into a building. And these will all be trained medical staff. So it's very safe, and it allows more testing for our town and a better understanding of where we are.
Now, is this for town residents or for people who work within Hopkinton as well?
So we will open it for town residents and then anyone that works in the town of Hopkinton. So it would be ideal, for businesses that are reopening right now, and maybe staff that are concerned about going back into an office or going into work and just want to know where they are status-wise, to be tested. It also allows for asymptomatic essential workers to be tested. So you don't have to have symptoms if you're an essential worker, such as a grocery worker, fire, police, a medical professional. You don't have to have symptoms to get these tests done. And then anyone that does have symptoms can have the test done. Additionally, if somebody didn't have insurance and they still wanted to have the testing done, we are creating a fund to help those people get tested and not have to worry about incurring a cost from the test.
And then additionally, what this does is, like in my case, and there's several other residents that I've spoken to, we have a desire to meet with, our parents, in-laws, et cetera. And we've been reluctant to do that in the past because of uncertainty of, exposure, or just concern that we could introduce the virus into their household. So I'm personally going to use this as an opportunity to get my wife tested, possibly my 2 little kids, though I don't really feel that they've had any exposure. But if we all get tested, then go into a lockdown until we get the results. And then we should have confidence that we could go down and visit my elderly in-laws or my dad for that matter, without introducing the illness to them.
Yeah, I mean, some like you're saying, like some states, you can, like if you wanted to go to, I think it was Maine, like they will let you in and not have to quarantine for the 14 days if you have a test result within a certain number of days. They're looking into that. So, I mean, it will work for some people, and then if this is successful, we could bring it back before school, so teachers and students can go in feeling comfortable about going back to school. I just think it would be an excellent addition to our efforts.
Yeah, definitely. And when that does happen, where will people go to sign up for it?
So as long as it's approved, the pending dates are, so once it's officially approved, I will post on my social media pages, and AFC will do the same, and I can share it with you guys as well so you can get it out there. So it has the registration form attached to it. You would need to fill out that registration form and submit it to the email by the 13th so that they can schedule telehealth visits. The telehealth visits will be on the 15th, 16th, and 17th. And then the testing day is on the 18th. So once you have your telehealth visit, they will give you your form saying which type of testing you're getting, whether you're getting just antibody, PCR, or both. And then they'll give you an appointment time to go to the drive-up clinic.
And what's your expectation if it, you keep talking about if it gets approved, if it does, when might that information, will you be pushing it out there?
I think in the next 24 hours, less than 24 hours, I think we'll have like our final stamp of approval. We're like really close, but I just don't want to say for certain yet. But once I have my final stamp, then I think in the next 24 hours or so, we'll be posting that and really getting out the word so that we can, provide as much testing as possible. I did put out a survey a couple weeks ago asking people like their interest level, and about 220 people responded, and 98% of them wanted to have testing in town. We're really appreciative that we were able to bring it, and expressed a lot of the same concerns I talked about. Like they were scared to go to a doctor's office, couldn't obtain testing before, don't want to drive long distances, so I'm happy we're just about there.
Great.
And I mean, as we're opening, we're looking at how we can best serve the residents of Hopkinton. So this is just, this is one step, along that that continuum of service that we've been providing, since the end of February. And we're looking to, if this is successful, run maybe several more, and then it's good practice for that day that we eventually have a vaccine available, because we'll be running a similarly structured process to provide vaccinations. So this is a good run for us.
So Shaun, I wanted to ask both of you. I've noticed on the website, the town website, there's a handful of what's called active cases, and there's a list of 113 or so that have recovered. Now, what's your goal on that? Are we shooting towards a long-term zero? Will it go away eventually? How will that continue? I know that the testing will be available down the road, but if we get one case of COVID in Hopkinton, do we have to go back to some kind of distancing guidelines?
No, I mean, very early on, I posted kind of like a meter that kind of explained like where you stand like in the spread of COVID. And so when there is like work-related exposure, and so that's how you can explain like why you got COVID, like that's like kind of like down in like the yellow, like you're concerned, it's not green, there's no cases, you're concerned that you have a case, but you know where it came from. And then you'd kind of go to orange if there was community spread with, community spread. So then, okay, like we know that this kid played basketball with this kid and that's how that happened. But then the red is like when somebody gets tested and they have no idea where they got it. Like, so it could that means just minimal amount of exposure, minimal activity. They've got no idea where they got it from. Like that's a problem. So I feel like as long as we stay somewhere between that green, where we have 0 active cases, and like yellow, where we know exactly where cases are coming from and it makes sense, and it's not like it's like from work or something like that. Like that would make sense. Like I feel like we're in a good spot there.
Right,
I see. Well, we talked to the Chief Bennett yesterday, and he brought up the fact that they're still getting ready at Town Hall and maybe the library, deciding how they're going to set the buildings up and how they're going to allow people to come in and interact. And I know that they're going to put up face shields or plastic protectors, and I assume that that's going to be there forever as long as they put it up.
I don't know that it's ever, but one of the things that we need to focus on is that, if we're practicing social distancing, we're wearing masks, we've got good hygiene practices, and we're not traveling around town when we're ill, we should be able to maintain a population within that green to yellow level. And we should be able to start opening up, Town Hall and other, municipal buildings and the rest of the businesses in town. But again, it goes back to social responsibility. If you're sick coming into Town Hall and we've got the barriers up and, we get the masks, you're creating this risk and introducing this risk into Town Hall. We all have our parts, and if we're just following the basics with the hygiene, staying home, social distancing, and face covering, we can probably eliminate the need to proceed with long-term or permanent construction modifications. But that said, we're still looking at maybe not having everybody back to Town Hall for some time. Certainly not in our office. I mean, we have a long closet, and there's no way you can safely put 4 people and an intern into that office space without, and it's just not going to happen. It's not safe. It's not wise. So we've done the assessment, and we're not going to put, our staff at risk. So, and this is the decision process that's got to be made. It's just like at home. If you're going to have, I want to have some people over. Well, as the governor said, well, you could have a cookout as long as you're socially distanced. You're wearing a mask when you're within that 6-foot separation area. When you're eating, you want to be separated. And then, if you're creating bottlenecks in the home, you're introducing that risk, and it's just, you've got to manage that risk, and everybody has a responsibility to manage that risk. And if we all do so, again, we shouldn't need a lot of these permanent modifications. Okay, so anything you want to add to that?
I personally think that, in the library and Town Hall, you're going to need some type of barrier in between you and the public, but everyone that's at work should be wearing a mask. And there should be this understanding that I'm going to do what I need to do to protect you, and you're going to do what you need to do to protect me. Meeting in groups and, going into an office and stuff, you kind of have to have a dating mentality, your ideas have to match up, so when I hang out with my friends, I know they haven't been anywhere, none of us have gotten our hair cut. I've given some of them haircuts myself, but we're not going anywhere other than the grocery store once every 2 weeks. And so that's somebody that matches up with what I would be comfortable doing and be comfortable being with them in less than 6 feet, and then as far as work, right now it's still going to be really limited interactions because there's much less people there than usual. But when businesses do open, the Town Hall, when they open to the public, they're going to need that barrier because there might be somebody that comes in, say, without a mask. If they have a medical reason why they're not wearing one, they might come in and need to pay a bill. We'd ask that those people don't do that they would pay at home, but if they have no other way, they're going to have to come in without a mask if they have a medical reason why they're not wearing it. And so all the things that we do kind of compound on how effective we'll be, so if I'm wearing a mask and you're not, and you're the one that's sick, doesn't really help. But if you're the one that's sick and you're wearing a mask and I'm not wearing a mask, like, that's a little bit better. But if we're both wearing masks, then that's better. And then if you wash your hands, that's great too. And, you can eventually get to like a certain percentage where it's like safe enough-ish for most people. But, there still will be those scenarios where you might need those barriers when you're dealing with the public without masks, or, just trying to keep that risk low. But I don't think like barriers are necessary if you can maintain distance and wear masks.
Okay. Well, thank you both. Listen, I know that you have a meeting to go to and our time is up. I only have about 12 more questions that I want to ask you. So I really, really appreciate the work that you do for our community, because it is helping to keep us safe. So thank you both. Stay safe out there.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All right, so that was really nice and informative. And we're going to turn to our second half hour, which is a rebroadcast of a show that we did in April, which kind of talks about some of the things that we do, some of our social media, and we also have our special guest, Cheryl Peralta, on talking about some of the things that she does. So I hope that you enjoy this rebroadcast, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next Hangout Hour. This half hour is kind of different because we don't have a particular guest talking about a particular piece of knowledge. In this half hour, we're going to be talking about our goals in doing this program and some of the tools that we have in order to accomplish that. As you all know, we are doing this show because we can do this remotely and we can bring in guests from anywhere that they want to be. This program is really doing what I call accentuating the C in HCAM. HCAM is Hopkinton's Community Access and Media Station. And C, community, is what we're all about, especially during these times when we're trying to socially isolate, when we're trying to quarantine and trying to get ahead of this virus. It's really important for us to stay connected so that we're not just alone in our rooms binge watching Netflix like Mike does. So, so our goal in this half hour is to show you how you can connect with us. And we hope that we encourage you to actually go ahead and do that.
Well,
So,
Cheryl just came in the waiting room, so I'm going to let her in.
wonderful.
There
I'm going to wait for her to pop in.
it is.
Okay. And let's see. So she has to unmute her microphone and turn her video on, and then she will be fully present with us. Okay, so, oh, there we go. Cheryl's got her camera going, and now we're just waiting for her to unmute her microphone, which she can do when she's ready to talk. So Cheryl, welcome. We just introduced the show, which was actually really important for you because you had a question on that. You are not expected to come here and give a presentation. This is you just giving some knowledge and some information and some exciting news about Friday. The whole half hour here, we're talking to our community about how to connect with their community through HCAM and all the things that we have to offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So welcome aboard.
Well, thank you. And it's good to see all of your faces there. I've enjoyed tuning into some of your programs, and it's, I think, a great resource for our community at this time. So thank you all for your service for community.
All right, thanks. Okay, let's start off with Mike sharing page 1 of our prepared graphics.
All righty, so where's the page 1? Are we popping it up?
The Connect With Us page.
I could share it if you want.
All right,
Please.
if you can grab it, Tom, go right ahead.
So there we
Okay.
go. Connect with us. Many, many ways to connect with us, and it's easy to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channels. Like us on Facebook. We have thousands and thousands of likes. We update that several times a day as the news comes in. It's really fresh. Follow us on Twitter. The Twitter handle, everything is HCAM TV. For our handles on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Instagram was new, and this is my worst thing to cover is Instagram, and Tom does it better because he does such a great job. HCAM TV for me. Follow us there. Just email the studio at hcamtv.tv, and we'll reply to your emails. And of course, give us a phone call, 508-435-7887. And everyone says on YouTube, why are you giving your phone number on YouTube? Well, this is also going out on television right now as we're talking to the people at home, and not everybody has the internet. So there's several ways. We want your stories. We want your pictures. We want your news, your press releases, and we want to help you get that word out to Hopkinton.
So that's it. I can't think of any more ways for us. Actually, we could put our snail mail address on there if people wanted to send us a postcard.
Jim, I still have that MySpace account that we can always use.
Okay. So those are all the options and the opportunities, and that's what they are. It's an opportunity while we're at home, while we are trying to stay home and trying not to go out into the community, what can we do to still maintain a sense of connection? I am Skyping my parents now. My wife is Zooming with her mother, and we're just trying to have some conversations and stay connected. And I would like to encourage you all to share with us what you're doing. Tom, why don't you put up page 2? And this is just a quick example of some of the opportunities that we have. So this first one is comment on our YouTube live feed. So here's like a recent show, and while the show is going on, there is an opportunity to chat during the show, which is awesome. We let people, they can ask questions, and then usually Tom is the social media guy, and he will relay those in real time to the guests and the host on the show, and kind of get some more information and get some answers. Next page, Tom. This is an example of a Facebook. And you know what? If you say to yourself, well, why would you even need to post this? Because everybody knows Facebook. I don't really Facebook as much as others do. So it's nice to kind of see this example. We put questions at the, Tom, why don't you talk a little bit about Facebook?
Sure. We put previews to each episode of the Hopkinton Hangout Hour. And then we have posts about what the next episode is going to be about. And those posts are always pinned to the top of the page because we're taking comments, questions for our guests during the show. So we're always checking our Facebook account during our Hopkinton Hangout Hours because we want to give the community opportunity to ask questions or give their commentary on whatever we are talking about. And also, we certainly want you to share what you're doing during this time. So we have a lot of posts such as what are you cooking? What are you reading? What games are you playing? And if you share a picture, we like to get those out there to the community, get those on our website. I think it's a lot of fun to get different people involved and have them sharing their different experiences. So we have all kinds of great content on Facebook. And of course, we have the latest with what's happening in town as well with the COVID situation and with anything else going on as well. Some great stories on our Facebook page also.
Okay,
everything happening in town.
Great, thank you. You can stop sharing for right now. I think other than Mike's MySpace page, this is our oldest social media that we have. Am I correct on that, Mike?
Yes, I believe you are correct on that.
All right.
Although I think we still have a LinkedIn something. It could be a link, Oh, and do we still have a Google Plus? Is that what it is? No, we never got Google Plus.
No, we did not.
Okay.
This is so Facebook. I mean, I don't have to explain what Facebook is. Everybody understands the concept, and on our page, we try to do a distilled everything Hopkinton on there. It's a wonderful way to have a conversation, not in real time, but to express information. Right now, I'd like to talk to Cheryl because she has been on this show in the past, and she's also been the host of many, many shows that have shown on HCAM. And what I really love about Cheryl is her heart and her passion for people and for finding connection and beauty in the world that surrounds us through art. You probably know her as the host of Wake Up, Smell the Poetry, and also the host of Meet Your Neighbor. Again, Meet Your Neighbor is fantastic. It is simply meeting people in our community and learning about them. So, Cheryl, first, this is kind of an interview question, but I just want, how did Meet Your Neighbor originally come about?
Well, Mike, how many? Oh, you're on mute, but I'm wondering how many years we've been doing that as I go back in time.
Meet Your Neighbor has to be at least 10 years. We started with it was a Valentine's Day. We were at the senior center interviewing couples about living through the Depression. And I think that's what spun it off to go with your Metro West articles that you were doing.
Yeah, and it was around that time also I had been working as a hospice volunteer, and I was doing life review writing with hospice patients. And as I had come back to writing, this was a service I could provide over there. And I discovered that it offered the family a means of legacy for their loved ones who would do this interview and writing with me. And I discovered as I was doing the interviews with these people that there was an important process going on for them while they were interviewing that was sitting down and making time to reflect and synthesize on one's life. And I saw how that really was activating for them, even in their last days, pretty meaningful process. And when UMass discontinued with hospice services, I was connected to you here at HCAM TV and really missed being able to interview people about their lives, seeing it as a valuable process and realizing that we really should be making more time to do this throughout the course of our life and not just waiting until the very end. And so with what I was involved with at the time at HCAM, and I think I proposed, what if we do a bit of interview and life review with our Hopkinton neighbors here, so we can get a sense of knowing one another at a deeper level, what everybody's story is about that we're neighbors with here.
A very, very simple concept and so powerful. It's just awesome to listen and watch these shows and get to know these people.
Well, I've loved being part of everyone and getting to meet the people and hear their stories, and to work with Mike on that and get the film out that he does so well, so that the other people can get to know people in our town and their stories, and the importance of making some time to share our stories with one another as well.
Right. So let's talk about sharing for a minute. You've hosted a lot of shows here on HCAM. I think you're very comfortable in the position. And would you like to talk about what you'll be hosting this Friday evening?
Yes, well, we just got that settled this morning. So This is hot off the cyber press, I guess. That I'm delighted that we can continue with Wake Up and Smell the Poetry, and what was planned for initially Saturday morning, but because of where we are right now, we are on board instead for the program on Friday night at 7. And Wake Up and Smell the Poetry is a program that offers an opportunity to share the art of our words through poetry, original songs shared, and literary work or storytelling also. And at this point, there are 2 guest features who have a half hour each. And this past year, they have been 1 poet and 1 songwriter. So who was on board for Saturday, who will be showing up Friday night? We have the music duo, the Lied Twos, who will be performing some of their songs from 2 separate locations. And I'm excited that they said yes, as well as poet Nadia Colburn, who has just recently released a book, The Higher Shelf. And she said yes also to join and share some of her poetry from her book. So this will be an hour of program. We won't have the open mic. We will miss that, but I'm really excited that we can offer this program through HCAM TV.
Don't give up on the idea of an open mic, because in the future, with Zoom video, we could definitely do an open mic.
What they do? Limit you to 100 guests? Yeah, we could do that.
Just 100.
Yes,
That's
100 guests.
Right. So I love this, because what are we doing while we're quarantining? You know, we're watching TV, watching movies, we're reading books. You know, we're doing things that are connecting us to the artistic world. And this show is a way of doing that, and including HCAM and including everybody in our community who can watch it. So I think that's exciting. HCAM, we do a lot of covering things that are happening and giving information and interviewing people. That is all great, and I really value that. At the same time, I also value the ability to connect with people artistically and creatively. So this is really, really looking forward to this show on Friday.
Same here, and thank you for making it possible. And I look forward to getting the word out now that we've got it in place too.
Right. I think that's going to be really exciting.
That's the thing about technology; it can happen so fast, right?
I know. All comes together. There's Laurel Kuba from the Sanctuary Woodville approached me about doing a Good Friday service. We're going to be doing a Good Friday interfaith 45-minute service on Friday.
Wonderful.
Their Sunday service is going to go live on the air. It's it's as I had said at the beginning of this series, it's not the usual HCAM quality that you're expecting, but it is the community that is what counts, and that is the focus here. So just connecting these people and these organizations and these artists is just an awesome thing.
It is. Yes. Well, thank
all right.
you.
Let's take a minute and turn, Tom, to page 4. If you could share that screen. Now, this is our newest social media. You wanna? Who's been posting most on Instagram? Would that be Mike or Tom?
I would say that's been me.
That's definitely Tom.
Take it away, Tom. Tell us about Instagram.
Well, right now on Instagram, you could catch a lot of information about what's going on right here on HCAM. You could see that we have some of our shows, information about some of our Hopkinton Hangout Hours and what we'll be talking about. And then also we have a post that I just put on there yesterday about the Good Friday service that you can catch right here live on HCAM. So you'll get a lot of information on our Instagram page in more of a visual fashion, but some great information up there.
Wonderful. Thanks. You can stop that now. I kind of look at I mean, if I had to say, I would say that Instagram is kind of like Facebook for the younger generation. It's amazing to me when I go into the high school, how many kids do not have a Facebook page, but do have an Instagram account. It's just like the new thing. It's the way to do it.
I think all us Gen X's pushed the kids out of Facebook, which Facebook was what? To talk about class courses and professors throughout the colleges and institutions. And then it went down to the high school level before it went to the public. And then everyone saw the need, how to connect. Next thing you know, I got a reunion page connecting with my classmates from good old Malden High 1984. And, you know, we're connected that way. And of course, we just push the kids out and the kids look for something better.
Instagram is Facebook without words.
Yeah,
I know.
pretty much. Very
And
few words.
I'm sorry to have to tell this to you, Mike, but we didn't push them out. They left it behind when it was no longer cool because we are there.
I guess, yeah, maybe I can agree with that because that's how I left MySpace.
And what's the new Instagram?
Oh, TikTok.
TikTok. Exactly.
The video now, instead of pictures with no words, you have video with no description.
I know.
That's gonna be next for us, isn't it?
No.
Oh, I
not this guy. No.
I can't take it on. I can't do another thing. I'm socialed out. All right. The last thing, the last possibility I want to present to anybody who's viewing this show and looking to get connected in these times, if you could put up the last page, Tom, is this actual show, the Hangout Hour. This is not a typical HCAM show where we bring people on and we interview them and they pass knowledge in one direction to you. This is a show that is a conversation among our community. So you're welcome, and we hope that you will take us up on the offer and be on our show. We have 2 half-hour segments every day of the week from 2 to 2:30 and 2:30 to 3 o'clock. If you go to that webpage there, hcam.tv/hangout, there is a form that you can fill out. Tell us what days and times are good for you. You can tell us some of your interests and join us. Just join us. Sometimes we're talking about, as you saw, we're talking about books that you're reading. I'd like to know what you're reading. We did a show about what you're cooking during this time. And by the way, if you watch that show, you know my mother makes an awesome chicken, rice, and gravy. In fact, I should get the recipe for the next time that we do that. But we want to know what you're cooking. We want to know what you're watching. We want to know what games you're playing with your family. One of the pictures you saw earlier today was a family playing a game together. These are the things. You know, you talk about these things in life. You can also talk about them in a wider community by joining this show. So I do hope that you do that. And as an example, let me put her on the spot and let me ask Cheryl Peralt, what are you and yours doing for spending time?
That is a good question, right? I think I would have to say spending a lot of time in the present moment of each day. I feel like I am resisting any call to schedule, which I had been pretty driven to before. But because I have been, like everyone else in my own way, dealing with the shell shock of this pandemic and how it has impacted us all over the world in different ways. Every day is different. And I try to take in news and take in balance with the news to keep myself calm as possible with a peace of mind. So some days I'm reading, some days I'm checking on my family, through Zoom or with phone. I'm trying to journal a little bit. I am working on my spiritual practice in thinking about my own people, but thinking about the whole world. And I'm just trying to do the best and take care of myself and my husband, where we are taking care of ourselves and supporting one another, and then going outward and checking in on people as we are able to. But every day is different. So trying to be present with that. Not
Wonderful.
making any long-term plans right now.
Yes.
Tomorrow is our anniversary, 36 years.
No kidding.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Do you have any special plan? Oh, I don't
We'll
want
wait and see.
I was going to say, I don't want to like spoil anything if you're planning a little surprise for them.
No, I don't know. Maybe we'll find a piece of chocolate in the freezer.
I know. Actually, I'm also going to put Bob on the spot. Bob, so you are our government meeting coordinator. So traditionally, you've been pretty plugged in to what's going on at various and sundry government meetings and talking to people like that. How are you connecting with community during this time?
Well, my connections with the community are basically online because just like Cheryl, I just had my 50th wedding anniversary on April 4th, and all of our plans had to be put on hold. We didn't go anywhere. We couldn't go out. So on the phone, with the government meetings, they've only recently started them up. And I'm looking forward to having the school committee on Thursday. I've already talked to Georgette, and she's going to process the Zoom meeting as soon as they get authorization to go public. But we also have tonight the select board meeting, and that should be pretty interesting for the first time for the select board going live. Last night we did the ZAC committee. They have pretty much shortened their meetings to try and cover only the essentials, but it's still starting to snowball. And I think after we had Heather on from the library, a lot of people have said that they recognize that there's quite a value to having the ability to reach the community through the television rather than just online on the internet. There are a lot of people, well, I'll say my age, maybe younger, that don't necessarily like to go online. They prefer to turn on the TV set, select the HCAM channel they prefer, and watch it in their 40-inch high-def TV. And I think that that's going to continue. As long as we have this format, I think it's going to be good for the community. We often, now that the senior center's closed, don't have much that we can provide the seniors. But I think they know that it's out there, and we'd like to get more. We've gotten emails from individuals that either do events at the senior center, exercises, cooking, that kind of thing. They're filming some of their meetings so that they, not meetings, but presentations, so that they can be aired on HCAM. And hopefully we'll get a lot of that out coming in the next couple of weeks.
I agree. You made a really good point. If I had a choice between sitting at my desk and watching this show or any HCAM show on my laptop screen, or I could be sitting on my comfy couch looking at it on my big TV, I would much rather be doing the latter. So I agree with you. All right. And that is going to bring us to the end of this show. Thank you all for being on and for being part of HCAM and for keeping us connected during these difficult times.
Good to see you all.
All right. And that's it for this show. We hope that we hear from you, and we hope that we see you soon. And please stay safe, stay well, and let's hear from you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.